Hello everybody, this is Mario Lewis. I'm going to I'm going to talk to you a little bit about vaccination. The original vaccination was something called varilation, and it was used during smallpox. It was initiated to a lot of children, so that if they did die from smallpox, it was while they were young, before a lot of resources was developed from the community to raise them. So with varilation, when they would do varilation, they would cut the child or the person being variolated and put the scabs of a dead smallpox victim inside them, so that they would get the disease, and hopefully it would be easier to handle. And once they get past it, then they have a resistance to it because of the way that the immune system works. It's important to know a little bit about the physiology of how the body works. There's a lot of helper T cells and B cells, and what they do is they create antibodies to the antigens that are produced, and the antibodies are basically a recognition picture for macrophages, which are cells that eat pathogens, so that they can identify them when it comes to them. It also simulates clonal selection, which is a process where the B cells that make the antibodies make a lot of themselves, make a lot of B cells, and they produce majority of them produce a lot of antibodies, but some of them maintain and then exist as memory cells, so that when in future contact with that pathogen happens, they can elicit a further stronger immune response. B cells also work with antigen-presenting cells, which take parts of a bacteria or virus or whatever the pathogen is, and present it and say, "Look, I found this. Everybody be on the lookout for this." Actually, in recent years, there's been a lot of anti-vaccination movement. This is big time. Responsible for this is Wakefield. He published in 1998 in The Lancet, where he basically stated that autism is often caused by vaccination. The problem was he had a conflict of interest, and he had a very small sample size. There was more issues with it, but those were the biggest issues. It was retracted from The Lancet, and it's the only thing they've ever retracted. Retracted basically means they took it back and said, "Hey, don't listen to this guy. He doesn't know what he's talking about." One of the important reasons you want to be vaccinated is protection against sequelae diseases, which are diseases that come about as a result of another disease. A good example of this is chickenpox and shingles. The chickenpox virus, often encountered in childhood, later causes in later life shingles, which is inflaming of the nerves, and it creates a painful rash at the end of the nerve, and it can be anywhere on the body. There's other things like HPV vaccination. It prevents cancer by preventing cysts, and can often turn into cancer. The biggest thing I think about importance of immunization for everybody getting immunization is herd immunity for our society. It is, if everybody is vaccinated, then the people that can't be vaccinated for reasons like immunocompromised people, or allergies to certain vaccinations, they can't be vaccinated for certain reasons. It's important for everybody else to be vaccinated so that they're not exposed to it. That's called herd immunity. Once a percentage of people are vaccinated against it, then the society is said to have herd immunity. The goal of herd immunity is keep diseases down and also eradication. Smallpox is eradicated. One of 3 strains of polio is also eradicated through vaccinations. If there is a spread of a disease, or oftentimes it's the vaccine strain that spreads, which is generally weaker, so that your immune system can respond, strong response time, but you don't get very sick. It's important on not just our national scale, but as a global scale for all humanity to become vaccinated against preventable diseases. There's different types of vaccination that depend on individual being vaccinated. Sometimes animals are a little bit different, and also depending on how administered. The different types of vaccinations are like a toxoid. A tetanus shot is a good example of this. Your body reacts to it like it's a toxin, but it doesn't treat your body like a toxin, so it doesn't affect you negatively. But your body still has a strong reaction to real pathogen comes. There's conjugate. They tie a weak antigen, which is a marker for an infectant or a pathogen, to a strong antigen so that your body responds to the strong antigen and intensely. There's attenuated vaccines, which is just a weakened form of the pathogen. Vaccine strain pathogens can be released because sometimes, very, 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 very rarely, it can cause something. And that's why immunocompromised people cannot get certain vaccines, because some of them are live attenuated and they're stronger than their immune system, so they can't get them. There's a lot of different modes of administration. There's, injections, which can be subcutaneous or intramuscular. We're all familiar with injections, needles, ow, not very good, but it's still better than virilation. There's nasal, which is real quick, real easy. And oral, which is used a lot in third world countries and developing world. It's quick, it's easy, and it's effective. And there's no aseptic techniques required. They just drop it in their mouth and then they're vaccinated. Animals receive different vaccinations than humans. There's more rights for humans, and so animals, they receive some vaccines that are a little more aggressive, and they can cause I think they're called granulomas, especially in cats, which are inflamed tumor type thing. You can have more than one vaccine in one injection. There's shots like MMR, measles, mumps and rubella, DTaP, tetanus, diphtheria, and pertussis, I think. And then animals even have some, like the feline FIV, which is like feline AIDS, and the feline leukemia. But there are still limitations. Some pathogens evolve so quickly, like the flu, that you have to get a yearly vaccination for each, because it changes among the population, because it reproduces so fast and it evolves so fast that you're at risk soon, because it's a new pathogen. It's not the same flu virus every year. It's a different flu virus. It's still the flu, but it's just evolved. If you do get a vaccine and it doesn't prevent against it, you're still getting a mitigated, and you're still getting a lesser intense form of the disease or pathogen. These are some of the things that are important. I hope it helped you and that you're able to understand and be informed and try to learn as best you can. Thanks, everybody.